Welcome one and all. It's time, yet again. Hobby lockdown. Painting, Abyssal Dwarf, Grotesques. And this time you might notice that we've got a slightly better lighting set up, so you can see a bit more of what's going on. That's because in a very high-tech move, I've got a phone on its side pointing its blinding light directly at the painting area from the camera side. So you can actually see a bit more of the colours now. Quite dark before, but this is how they're looking at the moment. I'll get a couple of them out to show you here. And you've got a better idea of what kind of colour we've got going on here. So hopefully you'll think that that's quite spicy. I'm going to do some details today now that the flesh is most likely complete. We've got Graham Rigg in the chat already. Good afternoon. And we're going to start with this Grotesque champion. So the first thing we're going to focus on, the areas that I know are going to be gold or bone coloured, I'm going to paint those with brown first of all. I can't even read it because it's so blinding, that light. There you go. Yeasty brown. So that's going to be the weapon, shoulder pads, and anything else that's definitely going to be bone coloured. So we're looking at toenails, some of these weapon spikes on this kind of natural looking weapon that's not metal here. There are a couple that I'm not 100% on yet. For example, these guys here. On the Mantic website, their weapons are shown as being kind of metallic looking, like just big chunks of jagged metal have been taped to the ends of their wrists. So I may well copy that, or I could paint them as stone. Got that kind of look about them as well. Side on that. And the chains, because most of these guys don't have any kind of armor plates on them, it's mainly just the champion. So I'm not sure whether to do the chains in silver, even though that would leave certain models with no gold on them at all, or whether to do all the chains in gold like the rest of the metal. Because obviously gold is the overriding colour scheme here in this army. There's quite a lot of orange in there, but everything has gold on it. So do I want to do the chains in gold as well? Would the Abyssal Dwarves use gold chains on these hideous mutants that are going to be killed after one battle? Or is it some kind of cheaper gold alternative that they've used just to match their colour scheme? Who knows? But I'm going to start with the parts that I know for a fact are going to be in gold, so we can actually paint some of those today. So starting with this guy. Pour out some brown paint here. I've been eyeing up potentially buying a wet palette, which would be quite handy since I do mix quite a lot of colours. So what brush do we want to use for this? Let's go for the Citadel medium layer brush. And this paint's already pretty thin, so I'm not feeling the need to water this down right now. These are going to be gold, and gold sits on top of the brown quite nicely, I've found. Got anything you want me to discuss during this episode, then feel free to drop something in the comments as we go along. Going to be here for an hour or two. See how fast I get this. I'm going to be neat to an extent with this. I don't want it to stray onto any areas of the skin. Although since we're using brown at this point, it's not going to ruin it that much. It'll be fairly easy to fix. I've got colours that come close to the skin colour. So if I have to do any repair on there, it would only be visible if you really look for it. But it will be difficult to replicate the skin tone across a wider area without just repainting it all. Not the easiest to touch up when it's got so many different processes going on there. Brushes and dry brushing. we got in here, apart from Graham, obviously. Assume we might get a bit of a different audience today, since it is Saturday, and it's a bit later than I've been starting this week. We might get some faces here. Usually it doesn't pick up right away. I don't actually know I'm going to do these things until about 5. Time to abandon their families for the day as they see that I'm live. Know where their priorities should be. My video content is more important than work or family time or any of that nonsense. Quite warm today. This room takes longer to heat up than the rest of the house, to some extent. I'm in the attic right now, which does get hotter, but I've got a blind on the window, so it takes a bit longer for the heat to penetrate. On a sunny day like this, it used to be unbearable in this room this time of day. News is, if I live stream naked, no one would know. Camera's just pointing at the table. Onto the shoulder pad. Also got to decide which spikes on the model should be painted which colour. By spikes I mean the ones that are sticking out of their body, not the colour. Strayed a little bit onto the skin there, so I'm just going to wash off the brush and try and get some of that paint off quickly before it dries. You can dive in there fast and water it down to such an extent that it virtually disappears. And salvage the situation. Crisis averted there. For anyone that wasn't here yesterday, I did announce that on Sunday there's going to be an Andy and Rem show. Probably in the evening sometime. I know people have been itching for that kind of juicy, sizzling content. We're going to have a very high-tech intro to the Andy and Rem show now, whenever we can. Now and in the future. And you'll have to wait and see. Surprised by that piece of technication. Brown should hopefully allow me to just require one coat of gold. Just going straight over the black with gold, then I wouldn't be very confident that it would require a small number of coats. I think it would be quite a few, unless you're really blobbing it on. Do obviously. Praise. Okay, what else on this guy is definitely faceplate. Not quite a full set. To entice people in to view this one, I actually put a picture of the painted model on the video thumbnail for the show. Usually I just leave it as the default and at the end, thinking an actual grotesque can lure people in. Right. Horrendous errors. Okay, let's do something that's definitely going to be bone coloured now. Be his big claws, spikes. The prompting of pretty much every single person on the internet. Just finished watching the Mega King on. Very educational. Kinds of ideas now. Do you ever feed anyone to tigers, for example? Spoil the whole thing in case anyone watching this hasn't seen it. But at least I can understand all the memes now on Facebook. Looking a bit light on the comments there, folks. I'm sure more people are going to be piling into. That usually goes. Starts off slow, and then after the first half an hour or so, usually get a few of the regulars in once they realise it's actually going on. to decide which of the spikes, like these ones on the back, am I going to paint those as bone colour as well, or am I going to call them part of the skin? I feel like I'm going to pick out quite a lot of them now. My inclination at the moment is to pick out the spike thing, but then there's tiny little ones like on the head, but there's not necessarily an obvious end spike or start to the spike, should I say. It kind of blends into the flesh. So am I going to paint it and try and blend it in there so it looks like it's growing out of the flesh? The gradual shift from the flesh colour to bone sounds difficult. Here's a question then. Which miniature game would you most like to cover in sardine oil, feed to a tiger? See, there's a few of you watching, so I expect at least a couple of that. Where else is definitely going to be bonish? Well, he's standing on a giant skull with some rocks on it as well. So let's brown up that skull that he's standing on. Little rocks that are around the skull. Those are very gentle dry brush of grey, I think. Try and match the earth that you're on. His toenails on one here as well. You have to be careful that you can actually distinguish between the skull he's standing on and slightly different shade. And time for the rest of the... Also got a little spike sticking out the back of each. Well, let's see. Anyone else working out there? No, if we're not getting any comments, I'll assume one in the entire wargaming community is busy. In which case, then I might as well stop this. Where do we want some more brown? Got some kind of shackles around one of his legs. They're gonna... Six viewers at the moment. Anyone working on anything exciting at the moment? Very exciting now, just removing some of my clothes here because it's so hot in this room. Don't worry, I'm not naked. Although that would probably drive up the viewership. Graham Rig, painting along with you, I had a couple of figures for ages. Just thought of a completely different colour scheme than the one I had intended. I sometimes have that. I'll have a big pile of models sitting on the table for a long time. Don't feel like painting them, and then suddenly have a totally different idea with them, and then kind of spring into life with the new excitement. Finish this guy's shackles here. Like 4 actual shackles, some of them bigger than the others. It looks like it's his leg through the gap, but don't know if you can see, there is actually a little bump on it there, like with the other shackle. Is that leg or is it shackle? I think it's shackle. So brown it is. These are very nice models. Hopefully the colour scheme I've chosen is going to do them justice at the end. I might need to assess the camera situation. I know what I'll do. I'm going to lower my chair. So I'm much closer to the ground now, but I don't have to hunch over as much or at all. Paint model now. I'm not going to get myself terrible neck ache. You can actually still see what I'm doing. I'm deciding what to order from the Mantic website as well right now because I want some paints from there. And they've got an Easter promotion on if you can figure out the code from their Easter. I want to order something, the paints, to get up to the... I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. Okay, let's paint all these spikes. Might be an option of precision dry brushing on some of these spikes. Not sure at this stage. I'm not going to be focusing on them today though. I'm going to be trying to do some of the gold. Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to follow the recipe that I've used for the rest of the army. See shortly, hopefully. Am I pondering ordering from the Mantic site then? Well, there's the option of the Kings of War Gamers Edition rulebook, which is the smaller rulebook, so I don't have to carry around the big one whenever I go to a tournament. And there are a couple of other things I've been eyeing up on there as well. I do have a Forge Father Dead Zone faction unpainted, but the only thing I'm really missing is an Iron Ancestor, so I could get one of those. And then I could maybe paint them after I've finished with my Abyssal Dwarves and some of the Night Stalkers. I'm going to have a full Night Stalker army ready for quite a while. also the option of just getting the Kings of War starter set with the Night Stalkers and the rule. But I've also been looking at the Night Stalker Mega Army for something. I'm not sure if I would need that and starter box. Get the models that. Dwarven Darkness in the chat now as well. Graham says set of rules, ring and oil, etc. No doubt read by Harlequin Games could not know a tale of them. Turns out they were written on a PC and then transferred to a Mac for publishing. Okay, so that's the set of the wargaming system that you would feed to the tigers. Okay. Even by Harlequin Games. Never heard of it. Maybe there's a reason I haven't. Maybe it's not very highly thought of. Okay, so he's got some spikes on his legs as well. He's also got some very nasty looking exposed flesh on the front of his legs, which currently I've left in black. I think I'm going to do that in kind of a reddish colour. It's maybe the same colour I do for the tongues or the inside of the mouth. Like a nothing too bright because I don't want it to. So you got spike more higher up the leg here. Software removed the top and bottom line of every page. Also, the first chapter in army design should have been left out as the armies were generated. Back. I've seen some hilarious blunders in rulebooks in my time. Regenerated, not regenerated. I've seen, let's see, the Dark Angels Space Marine Codex at one point. It had so many mistakes in it that they had a day one errata that corrected like multiple different things that were just mistakes. And when I first got my Dungeon Saga pledge, then all the page references were missing from the book. So it would say turn to page XX for more on this rule. And then there was a piece of paper in it that said, on page whatever, where it says page XX, it's actually referring to page 72. Which is obviously not great. But then they did send out corrected versions afterwards. So all was fine in the end. These little spikes on his back here, I'm going to say they're not spikes. And I'm going to actually wash off this brush and get a different brush now. This one's annoying me. Point isn't staying fine enough. Yeah, it's a smaller one. Let's go for... It's about... Or this one. This one will do. Got Steve in the chat as well. Hello there. I need some more brown paint now. To brown up on this guy. Depends if we're going to do the chains in gold or silver. Still haven't completely decided on that. So we're just going to leave those for now. I think I've done all the spikes. Oh no, there's some spikes on his head as well. How could I forget about those? Just doing all the spikes in brown. Then most of them are going to be in bone colour, I think. Don't want to be painting directly onto black. If anyone's noticed the extra sweet lighting setup today, that's because I've got another light pointed directly at the action as well from the camera side, so you can see a bit better. Okay, let's leave him for now and move on to this guy. So let's start painting spikes in brown. Pictures of these guys on the Mantic site doesn't have a particularly 360 look. Can't tell which parts are supposed to be which in some cases. I don't think I've seen the actual Mantic paint jobs in person. Really only see them from the front on the website. Just gonna have to guess whether certain parts are supposed to be organic or crafted on there. Cool, Abyssal Dwarf. Surgeon. Maybe they hired the Surgeon General. I was talking about film Skinned Deep the other day. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if right now. Sean just dropping in to say hi. Hi. I know weekdays and weekends don't mean as much as they used to at the moment. I was expecting a slight difference in the number and the individuals in the audience today. As the last few episodes have obviously been today. I think the big claws on his hands now. So I started playing Walking Dead 3 on Steam. Wasn't available for a while. I think the company went under. Since come back. Available again now. Bought some Steam vouchers left over a while ago. Late Christmas time. This is interesting on the model here. Looks like the spike actually continues through the skin and then pops out again somewhere else. I am actually going to follow. Paint it all the way down with the skin kind of resting. Very easy to make. One claw hand done, let's move on to the other one. If I was going to feed a game system to the tigers, comedy purposes, the Warhammer 40k, because the community would just implode and go nuts. But in terms of game systems that I think I would rather didn't exist, I don't know if there is one. I don't know if I hate any game system that much. Even ones I don't like. For example, War Machine. I know they have a place. It's not a place that I want to be. Oh, I know. Maybe Kill Team. Maybe I'd feed that to the tigers. Force them to write a better version. I just think it's bad. Trying to be objective, I just think it's not well done. In my mind, it's not even a case of me not liking it. It's a case of I just don't think it's good. I can like things that I don't think are good. I just think it's a bad game system. People can argue that Age of Sigmar is a bad game system, a bad set of rules, but I enjoy them. Kill Team, I just think all round is just bad and not enjoyable because of Where did you see the Easter special on the Mantic site again? The Easter special code can be obtained. I think the first clue is on the Mantic newsletter. And if you don't have access to the Mantic newsletter for some reason, then I might as well just tell you. Fun little hunt. First clue is on an Abyssal Dwarf model on one of the store pages. So you could go searching for that if you want. And then eventually you'll find the entire code if you follow their little Easter hunt. And then you'll get a discount on an order you place with that code. I think you can only use the discount on official Mantic models that aren't already, or official Mantic products that aren't already discounted. It's not the most difficult treasure hunt in the world. So this guy's got quite a lot of spikes on his head. Few in the leg region. Few little ones on his arm. And on the back. Some pretty hefty spikes on the point of his elbow as well. Going to be painted in a bone colour at a later. Okay, onto the head spike. And this guy's got so many they almost just look like hair. Oh, definitely spikes, unless he's like Bart Simpson. Hair is just paler spikes. This unit and the Hellfane are finished. There's not going to be a huge amount that I want to add to my Abyssal Dwarves. There was a set of pirate rules, name eludes me, where you played the demo with a handful of figures worked perfectly. When you played full squads, the whole thing broke down and unplayable. I've heard of a few games where you have that problem, where it's okay to play at a certain level, but when you play it to the level that they actually recommend, it doesn't work. So let's paint this guy. It's hideous. This guy's actually got some kind of bands around his legs as well. So I'll treat those as fabric or metal. These look like they might be metal. Got some fabric ones around his. Either way, I'll paint them in brown because then they can either be gold or orange. I don't think there are any Mantic products that I would feed to the tigers. All their games, in my experience, even the ones I don't play as much. I have a few issues with Vanguard. Still play. I haven't tried all the Mantic products. I haven't played Walking Dead or Hellboy. Mars Attacks doesn't seem to still be available. Usually, licensed games will be things that I'm not hugely interested in to begin with. Hellboy, it's not something I really know anything about other than the fact that it's made into a film or two, or they've done. So just not something that ever grabbed my interest at all. Steve says I'm not keen on Vanguard myself. I think it's alright, I just have a couple of issues with the rule. I don't like mechanics where you kind of knock someone down instead of finishing them off to go in and hit them again. Finally kill. I would rather, if they wanted to make those characters kill, that they just gave them more wounds instead. Instead of getting them to the point of death and now, oh no, they're fine. I'm not that keen on the whole power dice concept either. For the way it works in Dead Zone, we have specific roles that give you ability to do certain specific tasks, rather than just a pool of generic power that you can use for everything. I also think they could have kept with the Kings of War ethos of not making anyone roll dice on their opponents. And that would have been like the Kings of War thing that identifies any of the Kings of War systems immediately. You said I just can't get my head around the fatigue mechanism. Yeah, fatigue is another thing. I think it's completely unnecessary. I understand the thought behind it. Limited action. You can do more stuff and leave yourself vulnerable. But I think it just stacks up the amount of tokens way too much. Overcome. I think fatigue could be just completely removed. Just needs a bit of streamline. Out, stunts. Some of these were already hit with the dry brushing, so it's probably not that important that I get them with brown first. Bone colour goes on. But if I paint them in brown, it will help me to identify them all later, all the areas that I'm going to paint. The armour. This guy's got spikes on his elbow, but they don't look like they have a particular starting point. I'm just going to treat those as part of the skin, I think. Very blended in most of the. Just treat those as a bit of the body rather than a separate spike. Oh, now this guy's got some little spikes that actually stick through from one side of his skin to the other, like they've just been stabbed in there, but I'm still going to treat those as. You know what, I should probably do the teeth in this colour as well, this brown, because they're going to be bone. Or should I? I don't know, because I quite like the darkness between them. Could leave them as they are and then just do a couple of layers of bone, whereas the brown might seep into the crevices a bit more than I want, so yeah, I might leave those. I think we've got all of this guy. His weapons, not sure. Not sure what colour I'm going to paint those as. They're just supposed to be big chunks of metal, which is what it seems like on the website. Then maybe I want them to be brown first. I could possibly do them as something like brass coloured. It's not a colour I've used a lot, but it's an option. Who would just use giant chunks of gold, just harshly cut up. I'm going to paint the straps in brown as well because they're most likely to be finished. I have people watching. Or it's very. But I suppose even if no one watches, it still helps my paint motivation. Guarantee I'm going to be doing a certain amount of painting per day, so these are going to get finished. good time. Wouldn't normally paint for much more than this in one day anyway. It's certainly not going to slow me down. Usually I don't paint a single good motivation I have to do 12 hours. Also got a strap around him here, shackle arm around that in gold, or perhaps today. That. Yeah, we're going to need some more nice wet brown paint here because that's starting to get a bit thick for my liking. Ken says, have you ever assembled the Abyssal Dwarf Decimator hybrid plastic and metal model? Yes. I've got quite a lot of those. A horde's worth. They're not as annoying to put together as you might think. They're not the greatest models, but they do have a charm to them. Mainly the funny hats. They're extremely top heavy, so if you're going to be painting those, they're metal guns and heads, plastic legs. You need to be sticking them to something that's got some weight to it. Over. Do you fill the gaps between the heads and helmets, or just leave the gap? It depends on the gap. On some of them I put green stuff in there because the gap was very visible. So it was on a case-by-case basis kind of thing. Sometimes just using an extra thick blob of super glue to get. Not afraid to get the green stuff out. I'm sure the new decimators are much nicer together. I do have some, but I'm probably going to be building them as decimators since I've already got a horde. Models I currently use for Black Soul are actually guard. Unless I come up with a killer list that involves lots of decimators, then maybe. I don't usually use decimators in my lists. Depending on the point level, I usually struggle to fit them in. Almost done with the brown on the sky. Unless we decide and go back and do the chains, if I decide to do them in gold rather than silver. Okay, who's next on the production line? This bad boy. Ian says, have you noticed that some Mega Army boxes of the same army contain more models than others? I'm not sure, but I think as time went on, the Mega Armies got smaller. That is entirely possible. I think there might be a few reasons for that. One might be if they want to keep the price of something the same, but costs have gone up or something, then they need to put less in it. Other things, they might be basing it on the cost of the units that are in there at the time. So the models that were in it previously might have been cheaper, and they've put more expensive models in it now. Less of them go in. And maybe sometimes when companies do kind of mega army deals, maybe the first few times they do it, it's clear out stock. but then it does okay, it sells quite well, and they think, let's do one of these for every army. But we're not clearing out the stock anymore, so we can't put quite as much stuff in it. In a working business mind. Yeah, they do have different sized army bundles as well. They have multiple different levels. Or sometimes they might change the names of sets later on as well. So what used to be a mega army is now just a regular army, and then something with even more in it becomes a mega army, or the other way around. One other thing I've noticed is that I don't think certain bundles are supposed to last, but because of third-party retailers or things just not selling as much as they thought, certain things will stay in stock for longer than maybe they were intended to. So it looks like there's a really amazing deal compared to everything else, because it's just the last one left over from a previous time. Kinds of weird reasons. Levels, amounts of models. In general, though, just like everything in this society we live in, things get more expensive as time goes on. Except for certain kinds of technology that are more accessible and cheaper as time goes on. Saw that Mantic sold out of the isolation boxes. Glad I got one. Even though a lot of the stuff in it isn't that useful to me. I did sell a couple of the bits as well. And stuff that is left in there that is usable is definitely worth the money that I paid for it. Anytime you get any of those mega mystery boxes, there's a couple of things you use, usually decent value. Then you have a load of stuff that you can either sell or get. Yeah, the isolation box. I sold all the bags of identical Forge Fathers to somebody. And that was like immediately after the video was up. Messages from several people asking about those. I didn't realise they were in that much demand. I don't really like the old Forge Fathers. I like the new ones, and I've got some that I'm painting up for Dead Zone. I didn't really have any use for the old one. Fan of the sculpts. And the kind of the Judge Dredd looking Martian that I've got about 7 copies of him, because I think I already had one before the box arrived. So put those on eBay. I don't think any have sold yet. They're a nice little novelty item. Interesting. The Kings of War battlefield cards, I've already got a set, and I got a set of those in the box. So I'll probably just give those away as soon as I against someone that doesn't have any. So if you're a person that lives near me and you ever come here for a game after the lockdown's over, probably get offered some Kings of War battlefield cards to avoid me having to. I do like the Mars Attacks Martians, but I don't have any plans for them at the moment. I would like to do something, and I did get a few bags of them. And I got the Martian Dreadball team as well. I'm not sure whether the Martians have any rules for use in Dead Zone. If they don't, then they could always be used as a different faction. So that might be one option. In my mind, I'm trying to come up with an excuse to paint them because I think they would be easy. Bit of Walking Dead stuff in there, some of which I'll be sending off to Steve as soon as possible. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to be looking at the Oathmark rulebook sent to me. By someone who I don't think is in the chat right now. But I've been told that's a game that should my interest. I've already got armies that would be compatible with it. So it's going to be worth a look. I've heard it described as like a fantasy version of bolt action rule in some way. And I do like bolt action. Speaking of bolt action, I'm hoping to actually play that soon. If I can get my camera set up above the table, then I'll be able to play that over the internet. Even though I've only got one bolt action army, so whoever I'm playing against would have to use alternative miniatures. Something I'm looking into. Probably not for broadcast. I'm not that familiar. Wouldn't be very watchable. We're almost done with the spikes on this guy. This more precision painting phase does take a while. This is just the base coats for the colours here. Delicate process, but hopefully worth it in the end. I need to pick a colour for their eyeballs at some point as well. Okay, just 2 more guys to go. Steve loves going through random boxes of stuff. Well, I'm pondering putting together the mystery Andy box at some point. I've got just a ton of stuff, miniatures related, that I'm never going to use. So I'm tempted to put those into some mystery boxes and stick them on eBay or something. If anyone might be a potential buyer for a mystery Andy box, let me know. Maybe we can discuss it. I like the concept of mystery boxes. I like the idea of going through a box of random stuff that's useful. It's like Christmas morning. The way this community works, you're hoarding stuff, then all you're doing really is preventing other people experiencing the potential joy of it. So sometimes you just have to send stuff back out into the world if you're not going to use it. Obviously there are things that you don't want. So you think there's a decent chance you might use it one day, but everyone, sure, has got things that they know for a fact they're never going to paint onto it. They're for nostalgia or laziness. And I've definitely got quite a few things that fall into that category. Or just got a ton of something for an army that they have, and they've already got enough. So are they really going to ever get around to painting like that third horde of skeletons? And they've already got 4,000 points done. Steve says, count me in for an Andy mystery box. Well, I'll have to go through everything I've got that I'm willing to part with that might be ever in any way of interest to people. See how many boxes I can make of that without a price. It's stuff I was never going to use anyway. It doesn't need to be particularly expensive. What Mantic have sometimes done with their mystery boxes, they've had the option so you can choose whether it's a sci-fi or a fantasy or a terrain box, that kind of thing. They didn't have that with the isolation box, but they have done with their Christmas crazy box. It's the kind of thing I always enjoy because they're inexpensive. You're going to get a lot more stuff than if you knew what you were getting. It's like Christmas opening it all, and then you're bound to know someone that can use a lot of it. And you could be the coolest kid in town giving away half of it, selling it for a reduced price. could coincide the launch of the Andy mystery box with making some of the dice I was talking about as well, with some of my well-known catchphrases on the pay untold thousands just for that. Dead Gamer has the day off from work. Going to work on this new Gaskell mini. Yeah, that is a nice model. I don't know if I've seen anyone finished it though. I'm sure you'll do a nice job on it. Bet Dead Gamer had bid on a mystery box. Resist the temptation, like fill it up with old slippers, although maybe some people are into that. Specify that it would be only wargaming. Yes, mystery box. I was just talking about the concept of some of the stuff I've got lying around that I know I'm never going to be making mystery boxes for an affordable price. So it'll be like Christmas opening up. Never know what's going to be. Can't use it. Give bits of it away or sell them on. But I always like opening, usually from Magic. Then it's guaranteed to be game systems. At least a few things in game systems that actually play. Hoping the video I should be able to carry on painting for at least another half hour, but what I would like to do is the first layer of gold on the guys, so I might just carry on until that's foul. Steve loves buying random boxes at Bring and Buy. Yeah, there's just something fun about the unknown. And there are people out there that, of course, can take advantage of the fact that it's unknown and just fill it with absolute garbage. But if it's a company that's reputable or an individual that's reputable, like I wouldn't hesitate buying these things from Mantic. There's always something in there I can use. Even like the isolation box where there's just tons of stuff in there that I had no use for. I know so many people involved in the Mantic community that I was always going to be able to move on to some of it. Good Gamer says, can you put in some Kit Kats? The Kit Kats in America are, oh, they made with different chocolate there. Or maybe I could take special mystery box requests as well. Definitely consider putting kit. As long as they don't have Kit Kat sniffer dogs, able to track them in. I'm sure it's not like Kinder Eggs though, where they're just banned from the country. You never know, maybe they don't want that superior European chocolate country causing civil unrest. By the way, anyone who's just joined in the last few minutes, one of the topics for this video is which miniature game system would you feed to a tiger? Got any more answers on that? An example of something you might get in an Andy mystery box. Let's have a look. An Abyssal Efreet that I bought thinking I was going to do an Abyssal army and then decided not to. That's if I decide to put metal things in there. Crank the weight up significantly. So if I wasn't going to put anything metal in, let's have a look. What have I got? Random box with some stuff in it. Let's see. Lots of metal things. Oh, how about a unicorn that I might never get round to painting? No. I probably try to put in mostly kind of as new stuff. I've got loads of models that are just still on their sprue lying around somewhere. So either stuff that's assembled or maybe has a tiny bit of paint in it, but trying to get them as in top-notch condition as possible, obviously. Dead Gamer says, is anyone else's sound cutting in and out? Well, I hope not. But if that is the case, it might be because I was talking downwards and the microphone is above me today. So I need to keep that in mind. I normally have the microphone right here on the desk in front of me. But obviously I'm painting in this spot, so there you go. Maybe when I was talking to the floor, when I was rummaging down there, bits and pieces, the sound might have cut out then. The brown on this guy, there's just one more to do. Then it'll be on to, oh, Was that Cecil the Unicorn's cousin? Yes, it was. Well, it was going to be my personal Cecil the Magical Unicorn. But then I didn't really need one. Because I wasn't playing Age of Sigmar very much. And when I was, often it was actually against Mr. Remington, who owned Cecil the Magical Unicorn. It became unnecessary. I was working on it for the final chapters of the Porkening saga. Yes, I would say that's probably never going to be complete. Did Gamer is still getting choppy audio. Oh dear. I have a terrible internet connection, perhaps. I'd recommend refreshing the video or lowering the picture quality, perhaps. More than one person has the audio issue, then I'll consider changing the microphone position. But obviously it's not going to help if it's just one person that's subpar. See the little bars moving up sufficiently on the microphone section of the streaming software. So there shouldn't be any disruption. Almost done with the brown on this guy, and then there's only one more to go. Okay, I think we're done with him for now. So, let's check up the spike. Looks like it. So, have we done his head yet? Nope, don't think I. Spikes on his head. Okay, now on to the. It's kind of the unit champion looking guy. He's actually got some shoulder pads just like the champion. So, gonna have a nice bit of gold on him as well. Yeah, you can expect to see some news on the Andy mystery at some point soon. Go through stuff I'm never going to use, but might be useful to somebody. See how much there is mystery boxes I can. Try to go for kind of the size of a mantic. That amount of stuff in. I won't be able to have quite that much stuff I'm putting in. It's going to be per model, maybe slightly more expensive than things like skeleton on average. Here's a question for everybody as well. In addition to which game system would you like to feed to a tiger? What is the best mystery box you've ever had? In the wargaming realm, obviously. This guy's got quite a lot of brown on it. Two of these with the lots of spikes on it, whereas the champion, real champion, one of the just kind of a solid piece, just a big metal mace rather than individual spikes poking out. Apparently the audio is choppy still for Mr. Dead Gamer. Very unfortunate. I'm going to put the volume on my video preview and see what it sounds like to me. Currently listening to myself while talking. Okay, yeah, I can hear that it is cutting out occasionally, so parts of words are being missed. So it's a combination of things, because normally the microphone placement hasn't been a problem, but I've also moved the chair lower today because I'm doing detail painting and I want people to actually see it. And I am getting a little bit of choppiness on my preview video. So when I finish these spikes on this hand, I'm going to move the microphone to different spots and see if that helps. Just to be on the safe side. I want everyone to be able to see what I'm doing still. We could even tilt the camera up a little bit. Let's see. Okay, if we bring the cameras to there, got a bit of a different angle. But you can still see me painting, and I can be higher up to do it now. I'm not looking directly down at the table. So tell me if this is an improvement. I can hold it close to my face now and see what I'm doing. There isn't really anywhere to put the microphone that's closer to me. Let's try and just angle it downwards a bit from up here. Without it falling over, obviously, would be preferable. Okay, that's pointing a bit more towards me now. Hopefully I didn't just deafen everyone by moving the microphone around. If I did, it's too late now. As long as I remember to make sure I'm not staring directly at the floor when I'm talking. Let's try switching to the webcam microphone and see if that helps. Okay, that looks like it's quite loud now because it's very close to me, so I'm actually going to turn the volume down on that. Okay, how's that? Is that an improvement or is the audio quality worse? Because the way I've got it set in the settings, the microphone settings, is to get rid of all the background noise. So if something's really quiet, then it'll just filter it out. So if I have a syllable that's lower than the rest, it might just drop it thinking it's background noise. So it might have been doing that with the microphone further away. So I've switched to the webcam microphone now. So I might just do this whenever I'm streaming like that, when the microphone's far away. Because when I'm doing gaming stuff, the microphone is always right in front of me. Right in this painting spot right here. But the webcam microphone usually isn't as high quality audio, but it's probably going to work better for this. No one seemed to be mentioning it earlier in the video, so hopefully it wasn't an issue then, and it just kind of came in later on. Maybe because at one point I lowered the chair further, and I was doing more concentration, like with my head further down closer to the table when it started to get choppy, potentially, which was further from the microphone. I don't expect too many people to watch the recordings of these videos anyway. Except really hardcore fans. Really, it's about the live experience interaction. So if you're watching it later, it's probably not that entertaining because you're not interacting, and there, of course, in a long painting video like this, there are moments of silence. Apparently Dead Gamer is a hardcore fan, so that's good to know. Although he has gone to answer the door, so it could be an axe murderer or anything, so he might never return. Mr. Dead Gamer is definitely a hardcore fan, though. I think he's donated and contributed things to the channel before. Yeah, so if I ever get sued for slandering any wargaming companies on my channel, and I need to launch a GoFundMe for legal fees, then I expect anyone who considers himself a hardcore fan to donate thousands, potentially. Legal battles can get expensive. There's an interesting thought. Which company am I most likely to get sued for slandering? Who have I had harsh things to say about in the past? And which companies also love to sue people? Maybe Battle Foam. I think they've had lots of legal battles. I don't know if I've particularly had anything harsh to say about them, but I know people definitely have in general. When I was at Adepticon a few years ago, some pranksters had covered most of the venue, most of the rooms had not very polite stickers referring to the owner of Battle Foam. So I don't know whether people just don't like their products or whether people were displeased at their legal, litigious nature. So I'm pretty sure they were involved in legal action against another foam company. I don't think anything I've said on this video could be considered negative about them. Just stating the facts as I know them. That's me trying not to get sued there. Who else is wildly unpopular? Oh, I know, Wayland Games. People really don't like them. I personally haven't really had any problem with Wayland Games. I've placed orders with them in the past that took longer than other retailers. But I know other people who have had serious delays with them. I can think of a lot of terrible wargaming companies that aren't in business anymore. I don't think Total Wargamer are trading anymore, but they were very, very slow. I think it took me about 3 months to get some skeletons or wolves. It was when I was starting my undead army, or vampire counts for Warhammer, but I was using a lot of Mantic models in the army, and Total Wargamer looked really cheap, so I placed an order there, but it took a very long time to arrive. And there were all sorts of rumours floating around about that company, which I'm not even going to repeat, because if any of them are still in the business, again, I would rather not get sued by anybody. This is going to be a very controversial episode. Who else has been accused of dodgy dealings in the world of wargaming? Worthy Painting. There's a lot of rumours swirling around about them when they went out of business. Everyone enjoys rumour and innuendo. Okay, what have we got left on this guy? Just the spikes on his head, I think, and then we can actually move on to some gold. Because that's what my goal was today, to reach the point of applying gold to some of the parts. Made decent progress though, got all this base brown on. after a couple of hours work. I'm sure some people would be much faster at this than I am, but I'm definitely not the fastest painter in the world. Some might even say I'm quite a slow painter. Okay, I think we are done with him. So, time to whip out the gold. You can see more of my shelves now, so you can actually see where this guy's sitting. Bum, 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 bum. Doesn't he look horrifying in that light? He still needs a lot more work. I need to order some pink and purple paints to finish him off. What else have we got over here that we could look at? Now that I've got this super duper lighting, let's have a look at the base for the Grotesques as well. So that is how that is going to look. And it'll look even tastier when the Grotesques are actually on it. But that is their Horde base. I like the cracked earth over the lava effect. You can see it starts off pretty black, and then the more above it you get, the more you can see the shape and the colours of the lava. Very nice. Okay, let's whip out the gold. So, gold, we want glorious gold. We've also got polished gold, but that's for later. We don't need that yet. So we're going to slap gold onto all the areas that are going to be gold. So weapon, faceplate, shoulder pad. Still not sure about the chains. Undecided on the chains at this point. So we've splodged out some gold there, and let's apply it. This coat won't require 100% coverage because there is going to be more going on here. It's going to be a wash over this, then this colour again is going to be applied, and then another gold, and then silver. So it doesn't have to be perfectly even coat. There's going to be a lot going on top of this. But just doing it over the brown rather than black is going to give us way better coverage and mean that we can probably just do this in the one coat instead of 3 or 4 to get to any decent level of coverage. Because it doesn't have to be perfect for this, like I said. Just has to be good enough. Now with the brown, I had some license to maybe spill some of that onto the rest of the model because it's quite browny looking already. But with gold, definitely got to be more careful here not to spill that anywhere. Otherwise I will have to paint over it because it's gold and it's not going to be well hidden at all. So being very, very careful. Also got to be careful if you get paint on your fingers and you touch the model, you're not transferring any paint that way. That would be a nightmare situation. Can I get some opinion from the audience here? Do you think the chains on these guys would look better in gold or silver? The chains on this one, he's got some on his arm here. Gold or silver? Decisions. Do I want to keep going with the gold motif, or will a little bit of silver look nice in there as well? Let's do his shoulder pad. It's like painting a space marine, in that it has a shoulder pad, and so do they. That's really the only similarity. Being very careful with this. Don't want to get that gold paint anywhere it shouldn't be, because that is going to be annoying. And the faceplate. So you can see it's looking much more visually interesting already just with this gold on there. It will be much darker than this when it's finished though. Darker in some ways, less shiny in some ways, but also lighter in some ways as well, because there is going to be highlighting going on. I've got to be very careful here. Okay, he's looking pretty cool now, isn't he? Any other gold we want on him? Well, we've got these shackles on his leg, so they are definitely going to be gold as well. So let's gold them up, baby. I promise never to say that again. Nearly done here. Just going to go around the bottom here and be very careful not to get gold anywhere. It shouldn't be. The fact that this brush isn't perfect is actually an advantage here. I'll show you why in a second. So this brush, at the tip of it, it's got the tiniest little bend in it because it's not a top-notch quality brush. But for my purposes here, that's great because it allows you to paint a little bit round a corner without having to angle the whole brush in. Dead Gamer is back. What did I miss? Well, you missed some red hot sizzling gold application. And here's how he's looking right now. But we haven't had any votes on whether to do the chains gold or silver yet. So he's got a chain wrapped all the way around his leg there. I think if it was gold, maybe it'd be too much. And if only he is gold, and this guy would have some gold on as well with his shoulder pad. If there wasn't much other gold going on, that would really make them stand out in the unit. So I'm leaning towards possibly silver for the chains. I'll see if anyone else has got any spots on them that might be gold, though. Let's see. This guy. Nothing on there jumps out at me as this bit needs to be gold. Maybe the chain buckles could be gold. I haven't painted them brown, but I might be able to get away with it because they're only small. Just the rings where the chains change direction or the chains merge. Could have that as gold. Just to add a little bit of something, and there's one up here as well. Any more? I think that's it. Did Gamer says, what about copper? I'm not sure about copper, because I think with the colours I'm going for already, I don't think it'd stand out enough. Just going to go back to this guy's chains and see if he's got any big loops that I want to do in gold. Maybe the ring that's coming out of his flesh for the chain to attach. Okay, next, this guy. Does he have anything on him that wants to be gold? I'm not seeing anything obvious here. These bands around his legs, I'm not convinced they're supposed to be metal. I think they're kind of material. Like straps. In which case they'll probably end up being orange. So this guy will just do those big gold hoops again. It's the same pose as the other one we did before, except converted. So we'll leave him like that. And now this guy's definitely got the big juicy shoulder pad. So I encountered a strange phenomenon this morning. I was looking at my YouTube notifications, see if I had any new comments overnight, and I did, but it wasn't on one of my videos, it was a response to one of my comments on a video from 5 years ago. And all it said, all the comment was from this person, was just the word pause in all caps. And the comment I made, it was just something about Space Orc gods or something like that. And I do not understand what they were referencing. So I may just reply again and ask them, what the hell are you talking about? This guy doesn't have the same level of shacklage on his legs compared to the actual Grotesque champion. This is just like the mini champion. So he's got the shoulder pad. And apart from that, is it just chains that he has? It's looking that way. Doesn't even have any chains on his legs, this one. So yeah, still undecided on whether the chains should be silver, gold, copper, bronze, brass. Leaning towards silver because it's going to add a bit more variety. It's going to stand out a bit better. Almost done with his shoulder pad. Dead Gamer, I know you're not doing AOS at the moment, but let's hear a ramble on your thoughts on the new elves. Well, you don't have to wait long, because tomorrow there is going to be an Andy and Ram show. So we will be talking about the new elves, definitely. And everything new in Age of Sigmar since we last did a show, which is probably about a year. So we'll be talking about the Bone Reapers. They came out during that time, didn't they? The new elves, and all the old world news and rumours as well. So, very exciting times. So I think Dead Gamer is just going to have some kind of excitement overload on hearing that news. Yeah, there it comes there, with an oh snap. Yep, we've spared no expense to put a new episode together. You'll see with slightly improved production as well. Okay, so this gold isn't going to be fully dry yet, so we can't do anything on there just yet. So what can we do now? See, if I knew what I was going to do with the chains, I could move on to those right now. But not 100% sure if they should be silver or gold. Let's get the options out. We've got, where are all my metallics? It's going to be gold. And where are they all hiding? Silver. Or they're around here somewhere. I don't want to disrupt the paints right now because some of them are actually holding up the light, because it's just the light that's coming straight towards the model from the camera point of view is just the torch on my phone, which is being held up by a couple of paint pots. So I don't want to disrupt them too much. But silver or gold? I'm leaning towards silver. It would give the unit a bit of a unique look if they didn't have too much gold on them compared to the rest of the army. So I'm going to tentatively say that it'll be silver that's used on the chains, but what do we use on this guy's hands? Look at those weapons. They're painted silver on the official Mantic photos. But do they look like big jagged chunks of metal to you? Do they look like rock? Do they look like pieces of bone? I'm not really sure. So I think I may just leave it there for today and see what people think. Dead Gamer says silver. But I'm not sure if that's referring to the chains or the gigantic, hideous hands. If both of those were going to be in silver, that could potentially be too much silver, could it? And then I've also got all the strapping. Dead Gamer says they look like rock. Yeah, to me, I thought they looked a bit rock-like, so I could paint them as rock. There's all these straps around as well, which I'm thinking of doing in orange, which will keep up the colour scheme of the army. All the straps, like here, holding on this potentially rock to his arm, and around the legs as well. Which also begs the question, these things sticking out the back of the legs, are they just going to be bone coloured because they're big spikes, or do they look like rock as well? I'm not sure if the straps are actually holding those on, but they do seem to be just kind of crammed into the flesh rather than growing out of the flesh, potentially. So that's another one I need to weigh up in my mind. Of course, because I've got a very bright light shining on these guys, the colours do look more weird, and it's a lot more subtle from where I'm looking at it. And when it's on the table, it won't look quite as ridiculous as this. Because look, if I bring it close to the camera without the light shining right on it,
Hey, that's pretty cool looking. But it's not quite as stark. Did Gamer thinks the leg things are rock as well, but of course not all rock has to be grey. So what kind of rock would it be? Because 4 of them have those kinds of rocks maybe sticking out of them. These guys as well have it sticking out the back of the knee. So if it's going to be rock, what colour is it? And if it's going to be rock, is it going to be the same colour as these big claws on the hand? Which could potentially be just giant nails, which would obviously be bone colour, like the ones I'm going to do on the feet. Or would these be some kind of rock as well, that have been just shoved in there, into the skin and chained into place? Something for the people to ponder on, and then give their opinions in time for tomorrow, when I will presumably be continuing with these at some point in the afternoon. And then the Andy and Rem show will no doubt be in the evening tomorrow. So keep your eye on my Facebook pages for all the latest information nuggets on that. And we're going to wrap this video up now. So if anyone has anything else they want to add, you better throw it in there very rapidly before we close down this video. Beard Gamer says, yes, leg rock, same as weapon rock. It's a tough one. It's going to be something to ponder on for tomorrow. Because tomorrow we will be working on that, we'll be adding bone colour to the toenails, and we'll be doing the next phase of the gold paint. In fact, off camera I might actually put Reekland Flesh Shade onto the gold tonight, so that tomorrow we can actually finish the gold. Because obviously the Flesh Shade would take a long time to dry on a live show, so I may just slap that on there tonight, so it's only going to be a quick job. Okay, wrapping this one up now. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description, all the various social media shenanigans down there, the Facebook group, Twitter, and all that good stuff. Don't forget to check out all the fundraising sources as well to send me all your life savings on a one-off or monthly basis, depending if you go for PayPal or Patreon. And I think with that, all that remains to be said, well, 2 things remain to be said. 1, don't forget to look out for the Andy and Rome show tomorrow night. And 2, good night out there, whatever you are.